Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Downer, and welcome to the Concrete Blueprint. I am here with Andrew Quick, owner and CEO of Quick Concrete Solutions in the Des Moines and Waukee area. How are we doing today, Andrew?
Mike, doing wonderful, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Sorry to
Good.
leave on vacation, so you and I are kind of winding up one of these here real quick before I take off.
I love it, man. Good for you. I'm proud of it. You've
So
earned it, I'm
what we're
sure.
going to do today is let's just say that they made the right call and they made the quick call, just a quick call to Quick Concrete Solutions.
Yes.
What we're going to talk about what you should never do to new concrete in the first year. So, Andrew, let me ask you this. How should homeowners care for new concrete in the first year? Let's kind of just give a general overview. We'll kind of dive down into what you say here.
Yeah. So, my first point before we go into what we should do, my number one thing at Quick Concrete Solutions, we tell literally every single client after we finish their pour within that first year is no salt. No salt in your driveway, no salt on your patio, no salt in your parking lot, no salt period, at least within that first year. So that's the big one I want to get out of the way.
Yep.
We can come back to it, but that seems to be like the number one thing we find issues with. And there's some other things we'll get into, I'm sure, here as well. But now that we've gotten past that, we're talking about what we should be doing. So, again, here at Quick Concrete Solutions in Waukee, we've seen the most success with folks who kind of follow our program. And our program is pretty simple. We come in, you let us do our job, you let us get all the proper drainage put in place.
Yep.
Your water flowing away from either your driveway or patio or parking lot, whatever it may be. And we're slowly doing little things. Again, drainage is huge. Pouring it properly is huge. But one of the things we're thinking past our pour over a period of time is we want to think about some maintenance stuff that we want to put in place. One of those big maintenance things is sealing the concrete itself. So there are some topical sealers that will penetrate the actual concrete and actually help seal off the top of the concrete. But with that being said, there's a certain time and place for those sorts of applications to be done. Typically within the first 30 days of concrete, concrete is still in this heavy cure phase. There's still a lot of evaporation of the water. And the last thing you want to do is seal that concrete early within that 28 days, 30 days, give or take, and trap that moisture in there. Because all it's going to do is keep it in there. And then once winter hits, it's going to go what we've talked about in a prior episode, freeze-thaw cycles come into play. Now you got water freezing within your concrete, and it's going to cause, all this expansion, and then you're going to have all the sprawling. Like, sprawling will be horrible. Looks like the entire, cancer on top of your driveway. And then you'll see a lot of pitting and stuff too. But, so sealants are great. Also going as far as taking time to seal off your control joints as well. So everywhere we do our saw cuts, actually filling in those saw cuts. There's a number of sealant products out there to use for sealing your driveway, whether you want topical and or both topical and joint control sealants. Both phenomenal. Those are good things to do.
Perfect. So let's get back to the salt. Why should no salt ever touch concrete during its first year? And what's the chemistry behind the damage?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great question. So concrete within its first year is what I would consider it's kind of in its virgin state. So it's still curing. It's still, the curing process, they say, you can typically drive on it within 7 to 10 days after pouring certain design mixes. Now, going past that, concrete is still in this super long phase of going to full cure. It might reach full PSI, but still technically not at full cure. And within the state of Iowa specifically, or Midwest, we look at, again, temperatures and stuff. So, once we hit winter, get close to winter, and we got, either freezing rain coming down or snow coming down, the natural reaction is to want to put salt down. Well, salt itself is like literally dumping a cancerous chemical inside your body. It's going to eat away and erode at it. in your body. And it's not just, it doesn't matter if it's a little bit or a lot. It's just not good for it. The concrete's not ready for that, especially if it hasn't been sealed. So, point being, the pitting, the spalling, all those sorts of things are direct effects of putting down that salt additive when you get those, rains or snows or any of that stuff that turns into a freezing effect. And then again, first reaction is put out salt. After that first year, the concrete has gained some rigidity. It's going to be able to resist some of that chemical. Kind of one of the best ways I like to talk to people about this is kind of the same thing as our human bodies, right? So our human bodies, as we go from babies, toddlers, to kids to full size adults, we gain this ability to be immune from certain things. Whether it be, the simple cold, we maybe still get that, but we maybe get less often, or certain other irritations. Could be poison ivy. That's something like, for instance, I've gained immunity over. I used to get it a lot when I was a kid. Luckily, no more. So, but concrete's kind of the same way. It kind of gains this immunity over a period of time to where, once it gets to a certain age, it's able to better sustain when those additives are put on. Now, it's still not suggested to use salt. There's a number of other additives out there, but there's all sorts of de-icing alternatives. Whether you want to go as simple as like kitty litter to calcium, magnesium acetate as well. That's another good chemical. Both good alternatives. And then there's a series of other things. You could use sand. That's another good alternative, whether it's your driveway, parking lot, patio, whatever it is. There's other things out there now that are friendly to concrete. And if you look on most of your stuff that's in your typical box stores, your Lowe's, your Home Depot, wherever you decide to shop, a lot of those will tell you whether they're safe or not for concrete applications. And, do your research still, maybe double check it, make sure that the chemicals in there are not going to cause harm. But most of that stuff is labeled pretty well now because there's such a big market for it. People understand that typical rock salt is not good for concrete.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Why is new concrete most vulnerable during its first Iowa winter?
Yeah. So again, kind of going back into the curing phase, that first, depending on when the driveway was poured, we've got approximately, I would say, 8 months of the year. Iowa's such a crazy place, weather's all over the place, but like about 8 months of the year, you've got pretty self-sustaining temperatures. I would say from 50 degrees to up to 90, back down to 50 as you go through spring, summer, fall. One good season is really what it takes for that concrete to get through its full maturity and to really gain its, again, immunity and strength. And, it'll never gain absolute immunity. Again, like we talked earlier, I don't suggest you just throw rock salt on immediately after, but that first year as it's curing, all the chemical reactions within the concrete are happening. You don't want to interrupt that. And the other big thing that kind of piggybacks off of rock salt is also stuff like fertilizer. So also something very important that we always tell, particularly homeowners, and it's most we've seen the most issues in residential applications or anywhere there's city trail. Most of the cities take care of it pretty good now, but fertilizer itself, if you're putting it down on a windy day and it has a chance to blow across your patio or your sidewalk or any type of concrete slab, driveway possibly, that fertilizer will actually do the same thing as what rock salt will do. It'll cause chemical reactions, and they're not good. They don't play well together. So that first year of that concrete, I always tell folks, hey, again, I don't condone it year 2, but I always tell, especially that first year where it's gaining maturity and all the things and helping gain immunity, that you shy away from utilizing fertilizer if you can. And at a bare minimum, ensure that your landscape, whoever's doing your, your landscape stuff and your yard work and all your mowing and your applications and stuff, whoever that person is, ensure that they know that you are specifically asking that they do not put fertilizer in your grass that first year minimum, and especially not to do it on a windy day, and let them know it's because of the new concrete. You'll see a lot of, it's kind of almost looks like rust. You'll see rust marks and you'll see all sorts of other marks on top of your concrete, and that can come from fertilizer. So again, another one that we see in Iowa quite a bit. Everybody likes a perfect green yard. I'm one of those guys as well. But same time, I follow my own rules, and I make sure the folks who applicate, my lawn, are following those rules as well. So another really good one.
Makes sense. So I know all the stuff that we need to avoid. So this one's actually kind of a quick one since we've already pretty much talked about it in depth. But in your opinion, we talked about de-icing alternatives like sand, kitty litter, or calcium magnesium acetate. In your opinion, which are the best? What's the best ones?
Yeah. So, I would define best in two ways. So there's going to be certain scenarios where you absolutely have to have the most de-icing power possible, like particularly in public applications.
Yes.
Where you maybe have a lot of traffic coming in and out. And that's where that calcium magnesium acetate is going to come into play. It's going to be the best first alternative to regular rock salt. Now, if this is your home application and you're not worried about people coming in off your property and you're not worried about taking on risk, let's start looking at maybe doing some sand, and maybe some kitty litter or something of that nature, or mix. Or again, one of these alternatives that you can buy at a big box store. And then there's a few other options out there. The stuff is the industry's gotten pretty big, but again, goes commercial or residential use applications, or maybe even as a residential use, if you got elderly around or kids or, something that you're really worried about, again, that magnesium, maybe the calcium magnesium acetate is going to be probably your first go-to. And then after that, you can look at the other alternatives. It's definitely a per client basis based on what's going on in their environment. So.
Perfect. So we were talking about earlier about sealing your driveway or sidewalk or patio. When should new concrete be sealed, and when is it better to wait?
Yeah. Yep. So a couple important things. So in almost all applications, concrete, it needs to go through at least a 30-day cure period in a typical warm environment. So we're talking, midsummer, whatever, you're talking about the 30-day time frame. Now, say you get concrete poured, more towards fall, leaning towards winter, and temperatures are starting to drop a lot. That concrete's going to slow down its curing process. It doesn't have the same heat. It's not producing the same energy. It really, really, really slows things down. Well, you've got that working against you. And then you also have ambient temps working against you. And then just in general, Mother Nature working against you with the rain, the snow, the moisture, all that good stuff. So if you're pouring your driveway, I'd say late spring, early summer, midsummer, the 30-day rule is kind of a pretty decent one to follow. But once you get closer to fall and winter, particularly like on the edge of fall and winter, you really want to wait until that next year. You don't want to press it. A lot of those sealants as well don't do well in colder temperatures. So they're not going to take as well with colder ambient temps, moisture, and all the other things. You need that concrete to have released all of its energy, basically, and all of its moisture before you put a lot of these sealers down. Otherwise, again, you entrap that moisture, then you get sprawling, and it looks terrible, absolutely terrible. You won't be happy.
I so the way I think about it, again, I'm going to go off on just a little bit of a tangent. When you're talking about the curing process and the time that it takes for a driveway to actually do that. And people, I know the common person's mind says, really? A whole year? It's only this thick. But think about, I watched a documentary on the Hoover Dam. Thing's almost 100 years old.
It's amazing.
And they're talking about, there's several places inside that dam 100 years later that are still curing.
That's right. Yes.
So
Absolutely.
be glad your driveway only takes 1 year and not 100.
That's right. That's exactly right. No, it's absolutely amazing. Concrete has been around for a really long time, and the advancements we've made even since the Hoover Dam are pretty amazing. And those have came from R&D and lots and lots of R&D in the industry and great minds coming together. And, understanding that concrete's one of the number one most used resources in the entire world. It's everywhere. It's literally everywhere. Every building, every road, I mean, almost everything has some sort of concrete base to it. It's important that we get that most correct for many reasons, safety obviously being number one, but also to make sure we're not having costly repairs, every year. Whether it be city, state, federal, or out of your own pocket as a residential client.
So, Andrew, we do live in Iowa.
Yes.
And it's going to be a very rare time that we don't have to, that we can go a full 12 months without removing snow. So you're going to have snow on your new concrete no matter when you lay it in that first year. So could you tell us what snow removal practices help protect new concrete?
Yeah, really good question. So again, we really like to think of concrete in that first year, again, kind of as infant stage, virgin state, right? Just like as you would a human or an infant, you want to do everything with care as much as possible. So not to say, again, with the beautiful advantage we got in technology, we can speed up the strength of concrete, stuff of that nature. So not to say you can't put a blade on it, but doing as much stuff by hand is going to be best. So using basic shovels, snow blowers, stuff of that nature to get the majority of the snow off of it. And then, going down and using like a sand, kitty litter, again, like a magnesium acetate, calcium magnesium acetate, using that maybe instead of rock salt. That's going to be another really good choice. And then just in general, understanding that you don't want a big piece of equipment on your driveway or on your patio. Again, as much stuff by hand as you can that first year is really, really key. Unfortunately, with your commercial settings, it's very rare that you get those opportunities. And that's why if you pay attention to a lot of your parking lots, they're only a couple years old. They've got lots of damage to them, from snow removal, pitting, all, unfortunately, again, with the commercial sites, they got to stay vigilant on being as careful as they possibly can to prevent lawsuits for people from tripping, falling, sliding, getting injured in their parking lots and their walkways. So, straight up, most of those clients are using the heaviest duty, rock salt that they can possibly get to immediately, melt any kind of ice or surface slipperiness whenever they can. And it makes sense. It makes sense in their application. So, luckily for us, that's kind of a good thing. It keeps us in business. We gotta fix that concrete every so many years. And it just drives down the life cycle of that. Now, with our residential clients at the same time, clients aren't calling us back for anything but to either add to what they've currently got or maybe if they've moved. But yeah, we're not getting callbacks on tearing out and replacing anything we're pouring as long as it's been properly cared for.
Nice. So we'll kind of wind this one up here.
Yeah.
I want you to let us know, in your opinion, just so people know what to avoid, what are the 4 biggest first-year mistakes Iowa homeowners make with new concrete?
Absolutely. So the one we've kind of beat the horse a little bit, dead horse, if you will, laying salt. putting down salt on the driveway, first year, rock salt in particular, just an absolutely do not thing. Kind of our number two is allowing other chemical related applications for lawn care, particularly fertilizer, to be applied in any environment but a non-windy, perfect kind of conditions type of day, which again, I tell homeowners, if you can be around, don't just trust your, whoever's possibly advocating it unless you really know them. They may send a crew out and completely forget about the fact that you've got a new driveway. Just get out there, set up an appointment, however you have to do it, ensure it's done properly. Number three, going into this, another big mistake that homeowners will make is they will improperly maybe use or abuse their driveway. They may have construction done on their house right after they got done pouring, a big concrete driveway.
Or get your 42-foot trailer on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're just not allowing the proper time for that concrete to actually cure, gain its strength, and be able to withstand that added pressure. And then I would say really the fourth goes back to self-care. So, after that 30+ day mark, allowing a company to come back and actually apply sealant to the entire top coat piece of their concrete. That's really important. And then also having your control joints and everything sealed as well. And these are also things, they don't have to hire a company like us at Quick Concrete Solutions. They can, to be honest, most of this stuff with a little bit of maybe YouTube or whatever, some of the stuff they can do on their own. We're not going to tell every single person that this is professional use only. Now, would we suggest it? Yes. But again, it's not something that we would require as long as they take the time to do it proper. So yeah, I mean, that pretty much that wraps up anything that Quick Concrete Solutions can give as far as advice on really caring for that new driveway, that new patio, that new whatever it may be, parking lot even, and really giving you some longevity out of that new patio product that we provide for you.
It's a big investment. Take Andrew's advice. Great guys out there. Give Andrew a call. Nice part about it is he'll be honest with you. The guy even said, if you're man enough, YouTube it. I'm not. I'm done with YouTube, and I'm done doing projects myself, buddy. So I'm hiring everything done anymore, and I'm hiring it done right. So
yes, sir.
Andrew, as always, it was awesome and informative, and I really look forward to our next talk.
Sounds wonderful, Mike. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoy your vacation.
Hey, thanks, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it.